All right, guys, you're going to get the truth today, and some of you are not going to be happy, but there's going to be no BS, no fluff, just straight talk. And heck, I won't even talk about my group until the end of this video. All I ask is that you just like the video because you like getting a lot of truth, and that's exactly what you're going to get today, guys. You're going to get a lot of truth. So if you like the truth without the hype, make sure you like the video, and of course do that for all the creators that you enjoy, because that's how you let us and YouTube know that you enjoy the content. All right, so we're going to talk about some truths about myself, about investing in any stock in the stock market, and about stocks in general. And this all comes from 25 plus years of experience investing in the stock market. And if you choose to take this to heart and, listen and try to understand the lessons that I'm hopefully trying to convey here, not perfect, not anything else like that, but I'm trying to do my best here to get you guys as much truth as possible. If you kind of choose to take that to heart, you're going to become a better investor. I'll probably become a better investor just simply by making this video and kind of rehashing a lot of these things in my mind to kind of ingrain them in further. If you don't choose to do that, then this may not be the channel for you overall, and I totally get it. There's no hard feelings, no anything else, just another channel might be right for you, so I understand. No big deal there. But in the end, I want everybody to become a better investor, and that's exactly what this video is about overall. So first up, I have not sold a single share of Tesla, Palantir, SOFI, or any other high conviction play. Just to be clear, I have not sold a single share of any of those stocks ever. And I've owned some of them for a very long time, and I have never sold a single share. I have also, right here on this channel, never said one time to sell any of those stocks either. Matter of fact, I usually say the opposite of sell. I'm usually telling you, hey, wait for your opportunity and then buy. That's exactly what I like to do. I have laid out very clearly when I would sell, but it's not what I want to do overall. And some folks get upset about that. I understand, but I don't want to sell. Of course, Warren Buffett always says the best hold time is forever. Obviously that would be the best in every scenario. You want to have a stock that just continues to perform year in and year out, and you're glad to hold it. I have also never said to sell here so you can buy there, and pulled up these little charts and graphs and do all that other sort of stuff like that to try to prove when you should sell and when you should get out and all those other games like that. We all know dead people outperform traders, so I'm never going to do that. I have also never once talked about playing option games or to hedge or rebalance or any other hedge fund type of things that is not intended for long-term buy and hold investors. Now, sure, you can choose to play that way. I agree completely. I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. I know professional option players and a lot of other folks of that nature. But I also know, especially for us as normal retail investors who don't do this as a profession, dead people outperform every single one of those strategies. Dead people outperform hedge funds that do that for a living. And what do dead people do? They do nothing. So I follow suit, with the exception of I track my company's performance through earnings calls, through the filings, and through the guidance that they get. That's the only thing I do different than dead people overall. But all the ridiculous hoops everybody jumps through just to underperform if they just did nothing always baffles me in the end. So it makes no sense to me to sell any shares of great companies that are still early in their growth journeys. Just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I didn't trade my way to a 50,000% plus return in Apple. That's not how I got there. I just held and bought the dips and didn't sell after my initial kind of foray into the taking profits realm. Although what the saying is, nobody has ever lost money taking a profit, which is true, but no way I could have traded that money to a 50,000% return. So taking profits to me is still just a losing bet compared to just holding, because for me, it would have been impossible to trade my way to 50,000%. However, it was very, very easy, and I did actually get a 50,000% return by just simply holding. Next up, I've never shorted anything ever. I got it. It's probably a double, triple negative, whatever. It doesn't matter. I have never done any of that sort of stuff. And I don't understand anyone who wants to play a rigged game and then bet the other direction against the rigging of the game, guys. Remember, the market is rigged to go up over time. The rules, the laws, and everything in place is there to support the market going up, not down, to include government intervention in the stock market. So it makes no sense to me to go short, but that's exactly what shorts do. Sure, now sometimes whenever a short does get it right, they get all the glory, but they're right basically once every 5 to 10 years, for example, which means they're wrong 4 out of the 9 years or so out of the 5 or 10 that we're looking at there. And when I look at that, that's kind of like bragging about winning 10% of the time, while the guy who is long-term buy and hold wins 90% of the time. I mean, sure, the 10% guy just seems to get more famous, or, they just kind of become a legend or whatever the case is. But I'd much rather be the guy that's winning 90% of the time and making money without ever getting famous. So to me, it makes no sense, but neither does Wall Street, except for when it comes to their bonuses. Then it's really, really easy to spot what they're trying to do in the games that they're playing. But the number of times I get called a short in a week is just crazy, especially during times like this where everything is running high and I'm just simply saying, hey, I'm just going to buy and hold. That's it. I think stocks are a little bit overvalued right now, depending upon the stock. So I'm not going to do that. More importantly, I rarely sell and I've never shorted anything ever. And just because I say a stock is overvalued doesn't mean that I'm short. And just because I have a full position and then some in a lot of stocks, or a lot of some in regards to some of these stocks, some of our favorites especially, and I don't want to add more at these lofty prices, doesn't mean that I'm short either. Next up, I'm not paid by any hedge fund or anyone else for that matter. All right, guys, let me make this very, very clear. There is not a single hedge fund CEO that even knows who I am. Not one, probably nobody in any hedge fund office knows who I am. It is a complete waste of time for hedge funds to pay a guy like me, and honestly, most of YouTubers out there, except for the biggest of the big influencers out there. I wouldn't take the money anyways, so it doesn't matter because I didn't make my money influencing. I didn't make it here on YouTube or on my group or anything else like that, and I refuse to sacrifice my integrity just simply to make a little bit of money doing something that I know, even though it may not be illegal, I just don't think it's right, and it's not something I would do. If I'm not into the investment and I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it. Same way I don't take sponsorships for things that I don't use and I would never use in a lot of examples, or that I think suck and I use something else instead. I would never do that. All of those years of making legitimate money and building up your reputation and everything else would all be for naught if I did that, and I'm just not going to do that. So for me, even if they were going to do that, it's a waste of their money, and it's something that I would never even do. Here's the bigger point of this. Even if I wanted their money, even if I needed their money for some reason, I got greedy, I don't know, I wanted to buy a private jet or something ridiculous like that, they would laugh and not even pay me a lick of attention, much less actually pay me money. That's not how that works at those levels. I mean, maybe penny stocks would be willing to give me a few grand, or crypto scams would pay me, because I get those offers all the time. I see them all the time to kind of push that trash. But hedge funds paying me to talk bad about Tesla, for example, which is the one I hear the most, is laughable, guys. I'm sorry, it just is. They have no clue who I am, much less be willing to pay me to try and move a $1 trillion market cap stock. Think about that for just a second. It is just pure silliness at that stage, and just not even in the realm of possibility, much less something I would be interested in or anything else. So you got to ignore stuff like that whenever you see it, or ignore those type thoughts whenever you're thinking about anybody else out here on YouTube, whenever they make a decision or they say something or they do something. Sure, you want to get into the small cryptos and the penny stocks and the over-the-counter stocks. Okay, I get those offers every day too. But yeah, big hedge funds and stocks like Tesla and Palantir and stuff like that, no, nobody's doing anything in regards to that or paying anyone. At least not at my level. Maybe at some of the big boy levels, okay, maybe. But, hey, I'm not, whoever on social media with 8 million followers or whatever the case is. So not going to be me. Next up, be conservative in your estimates. There is no reason for pie in the sky projections on any stock ever. It's just not necessary, guys. It is an utterly useless exercise. Projecting anything out past a year or two is kind of murky at best, but looking at 2030 or even 2040 now is just pure speculation and not worth your time at all. And I don't understand the reason why anybody would ever want to do that. And secondarily, unless valuation gets me to a crazy estimate, I'm not going to give you one just so you like the video and sub and grow my audience and all that other sort of stuff like that. Because in the end, pumpers that do that are going to screw you. But unfortunately, it works to grow an audience and it makes them money. And I want you to grow your wealth. So I only know one way to do that, and it's by being conservative and using valuation to decide on buying or not at that particular stage. And I like the audience that we have right here on this channel who want realistic estimates that are conservative in nature and not speculating on ridiculous things that, honestly, if I'm being honest here, they make you feel good because you think you're going to be rich next year because your stock is 100xing in a year. And that's the bear case, according to my pretty spreadsheets and my pretty charts and graphs and all other good stuff like that. And the bull case that is actually the most probable is 1000x. I get it, guys. That makes you feel great. That makes a lot of folks feel great. And that grows an audience, but it won't grow your actual net worth over the long run. It is short-term fool's gold in the end. And I don't want an audience who is looking for lottery tickets and just wants smoke blown up their butts in the end and crazy estimates and everything else. And that's why I have a smaller audience, because that's not the type of audience that I want. Now, yes, I agree. I am wrong periodically. It happens just as often as it does anybody else out there. But at least I was wrong trying to be conservative, But more importantly, this is kind of the bigger lesson here, being conservative allowed me to buy Tesla every year since 2022, with my highest buys being half of where it's at right now, and the bulk of my shares bought the past few years in kind of that mid to 100 to low 100 range. That's where all my shares are bought, and look at where the stock is right now. The same exact thing goes with Palantir. My highest shares that were bought this year are in the 20s. However, the bulk of my shares were bought well below 10. The name of the game, guys, in the end is to buy low and increase that share count as fast as possible with as many shares as you can gobble up, depending upon your conviction and how big you want your position size to be and all that good stuff. Being conservative helps me do just that, so I avoid hype runs, and instead I double down when Wall Street gets dumb, and they always get dumb. They did this year with every single stock that you want to own in the stock market. They got dumb this year, and you had the opportunity to buy shares at a significantly cheaper price than right now. But what happens is most of us end up buying high and selling low. And it's not just a meme, guys. It is something that retail investors do all the time. And the reason why is because instead of using valuation as a guide, so you knew to pile into Palantir under $10 or Tesla under $200 or whatever the case was, many waited until the stock had already doubled up, tripled up, quadrupled up, whatever the case was, and gotten overvalued before buying, because that's when the pumpers would all come in with their pie in the sky projections. And then many felt like it was time to invest finally, setting those folks up for another buy high, sell low scenario. That's not what I do. I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't get it right all the time, but you absolutely don't see me buying high and selling low and doing other things of that nature. Next up, not being ultra bullish does not make you a bear. Now, you might see a stock that's going to 10x in a year, and I might see it going up just 10% or so in that same exact time frame. That doesn't mean that I'm bearish and you're bullish. That's just what I see based on my 25 plus years worth of experience. But my question to you is, what does that have to do with being a bear exactly? Ultra bulls aren't the only types of bulls that can be out there. I can love a stock. I can be a big bull for the stock, especially long term, and just see the stock price growth differently than others do, but we're all bulls on the stock in the end. There's not one bull, and that's the person with the highest price target. That's the person that's bullish, and anybody else is bearish. That's just silly talk. That doesn't even make any sense. There can be many bulls with lots of different price targets. A bear is someone who wants you to sell the stock because it's going nowhere except for down, not someone who is encouraging you to buy the stock when it makes sense and to ultimately stick to your plan. Now, could I be wrong and the stock does 10x instead of my 10%? Yeah, absolutely. Could you be wrong too and we only get 10% instead of a 10x? Yeah, absolutely too. But the reason why I say what I say is because in my case, if I'm right, I'm very happy. I got my 10% return. And if I happen to be wrong and you're right and the stock 10x's, guess what? I'm happy as well. I win regardless. In your case, if it only goes up 10%, you feel like you lost, and you might even sell that great stock because you didn't get that 10x. And what ends up, and I've seen that before, and then what ends up happening is, well, it 10x's the following year. You just sold it a little year too early because you weren't patient enough, because you were disappointed because you didn't get the 10x when somebody told you the 10x was coming or whatever the case was. Everyone is different, but I prefer to stay positive and win no matter what, and that's what deciding and being conservative helps me do. Next up, calling something overvalued isn't bearish. Now, anytime we have hot times like we have right now today, anything other than to the moon is bearish, and it's just silly talk. How did I avoid Tesla at 400 the first time and instead loaded the boat in the $100 range? By identifying Tesla as overvalued and to lay off and to build cash to then buy Tesla when it's undervalued and stupid cheap, like when it got down in the low 100s. I did the same exact thing with Palantir. I did not sell any of it. I didn't tell you guys to sell any of it. As a matter of fact, I said keep your DCA going, as that is the point in the DCA. And none of that is what is said by bears at all. Just this year, Palantir got overvalued several times, and I called it overvalued at the time. Now, did I have any idea 70 was coming? No, absolutely not. But I also didn't tell you to sell or play games and buy back here and all other sort of stuff like that. I just said, be aware, you're overpaying a little bit for Palantir right now. If you're DCAing, continue your DCA. If you're doing a modified DCA, wait for a better opportunity, which we got every single time that happened before this last takeoff happened there. But simply because you're being the truthful about what the valuation is and whether or not a stock is overvalued or undervalued has zero to do with being bullish or bearish on the stock. It is simply presenting the reality, which is something that I feel I need to do for my audience and for you guys out there so you can become better investors. And if this appealed to you at all and you want to take your investing to the next level, the holiday sale is live right now where you get free coaching for group members, along with one-on-one coaching for those of you guys who want to take one-on-one coaching as well. And we have 5 courses that you can take for free. We have a free stock analyzer tool. We got the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. We got live Q&As where you can talk to me anytime. And of course, I'm in the Discord talking all the time. You can DM me. There's so much involved in a membership, guys. Make sure you check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.